What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It is time to give you my upset alert games heading into Week 3 of the 2025 college football season. Going back to my upset alert games from last week for week number 2, 3 out of the 8 games turned out to be upsets in those 8 games that I picked out from last week in week number 2. The 3 upsets out of those 8 games from last week, one of them was Mississippi State upsetting Arizona State. That one didn't shock me at all. I knew Mississippi State did have a chance, and then SMU, they got upsetted by Baylor. Maybe people didn't see that coming because Baylor lost to Auburn the previous week, and they just probably had no shot to win that game. But still, that was a big upset in my opinion. And then, of course, the bigger upset, for the second week in a row, we had a double-digit favorite go down in the upset alert, and that was Florida getting upsetted by South Florida. That one didn't really shock me either because South Florida did pull off an upset in week 1, and then they pulled off another upset again in week number 2. So it's been pretty chaotic in the first couple weeks. Will we have a quiet week this week? I don't know. There are several big games coming up this weekend. You got some top 25 matchups that could possibly turn out to be upsets in week 3. And if it happens, I think we do have a chaotic college football season on our way. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Again, we pick out the 8 games total. I give you 4 games each. 4 of the games that are least likely to be upsets, and then 4 games that are most likely to be upsets. And whoever that team is favored, whoever that favored team is, that team is going to be on upset alert. So let's get right into it here with my week 3 upset alert games. And we'll start here with a noon game, Wisconsin at Alabama. This one will be on ABC. Again, we're going from the least likely and working our way to the most likely upsets. So Alabama's favored by 20.5 in this one, and the over and under is sitting at 47.5. That's a pretty high number for a Power 4, matchup here. It's the Big Ten versus the SEC, of course. And these two teams, of course, did meet last year in Wisconsin. And Alabama, of course, came out with a victory. Pretty big in that game. The game wasn't super close last year. I think it will be a closer game this time, but I haven't watched Wisconsin's first 2 games. I know, one of them ended up being like a really tough game in the first one, and then last week it was a little bit better for them. But yeah, I still have question marks about Wisconsin. I don't know how good this team is going to be. And then Alabama, it's kind of hard to believe that they're not 2-0 going into this game still. They lost to Florida State in week 1. They got upsetted. That was the biggest upset in week 1. Could that happen again here to Alabama in this game against Wisconsin? I really don't know. I really don't know if an upset will happen here. I mean, obviously I said that in week 1, and then it did happen, so maybe it happens again. You never know. I mean, again, Alabama's a 20.5 point favorite. I think it's because they're playing at home in this one, and that's really just basically what Alabama is known for. In pretty much big games, they're always going to be a favorite, and also they are also going to be like a big favorite. So again, Alabama's favored by 20.5. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an upset here, but at the same time, I think it would be a shocker because Wisconsin hasn't really been tested yet. And yeah, they are 2-0, but they haven't really played anybody just yet. So, and Alabama's already played Florida State, so they should be pretty much ready to go in this one. And this is also a noon kickoff, so I think Alabama's kind of usually good at noon kickoffs. So again, Alabama's favored by 20.5 in this one, so I don't probably see an upset happening in this game. Next up, we got South Florida at Miami. This one will be at 4:30 Eastern Time on the CW network. Miami is favored by 18.5, and the over and under sitting at 54.5. That's also a pretty high spread. This is a South Florida team coming off a pretty big win last week against Florida, and then a couple of weeks ago they beat Boise State, a team that went to the college football playoff last season. And yeah, South Florida is ranked in the top 25 for this week at number 18. That is kind of pretty high for a group of 5 team, but they really deserve it. This is a really good South Florida team just based off of what they've done in the first couple of games. Miami, they've already been tested already. They had that week 1 victory over Notre Dame on that Sunday night before Labor Day. And then last week they weren't really tested. So which Miami team will we get? I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. Miami did play pretty well last week, but I kind of want to see the Miami defense show up in this game. Yeah, South Florida is definitely capable of pulling off an upset because they've already done it 2 weeks in a row. And this this is actually the third time that they've been in this type of video. So, yeah, South Florida, wouldn't be surprised if they did pull off another upset here. But at the same time, maybe Miami kind of makes a statement here and finally gives South Florida their first loss of the season. But, again, Miami is favored by 18.5. If South Florida can keep it close, I think that would still be a good enough resume in order to still make a playoff appearance. Again, it's still early, but, that would definitely boost their resume. But it would definitely be a better resume if they did win this game. So, yeah, keep an eye on this game. Miami could go down in this game, or South Florida goes down this week for the first time, and they finally, lose their first game of the season. Or it could be another Cinderella story, and South Florida pulls off an upset. Next up, we got Florida at LSU, SEC matchup here at 7:30 Eastern Time on ABC. LSU is favored by 8.5, over and under sitting at 54.5. This looks like it was going to be a pretty big game, but it doesn't look like it now because, Florida obviously coming off the loss to South Florida. How do they bounce back after that loss? Is Billy Napier on the hot seat going into this game? I mean, there are so many rumors out there that they should fire Billy Napier. I really don't know if he'll get fired after this game. It's kind of hard to tell, but this will be a tough game for the Gators. They got LSU here in Death Valley. This will be a night game as well, so we know how tough it can get in Baton Rouge in Death Valley at nighttime here at LSU. But LSU is also kind of looking to bounce back, not because of a loss and everything. They did win last week, but they did not play that great against Louisiana Tech. Which LSU team is going to show up in this one? Is it going to be the team that will show up against, Louisiana Tech, or will it be the LSU team that beat Clemson in Week 1? That's definitely what we're going to have to figure out here for the Tigers, but I do expect LSU to probably win this game. Again, the spread probably was closer to probably like 4 points, before these teams even met, and now it's at 8.5. I'm not really surprised that LSU is favored by 8.5. I mean, it could be a lot worse. It could be like at 10.5 and everything, but still. Again, Florida coming off a loss, you kind of expect this one to be LSU to be favored in this one. So, yeah, this is an upset that I probably don't see happening now just because after Florida losing last week. But what if they were looking ahead to this game? That's definitely the question to answer. What if these two teams were kind of overlooking their games from last week and focusing on this game? That'll also be a question to answer. But, yeah, this is an upset that maybe doesn't happen, but you never know. It's the SEC and it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. And then we go on to Arkansas at Ole Miss, another SEC game. This one is at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. Ole Miss is favored by 7.5 and the over and under sitting at 62.5. I'll be honest, I haven't watched a ton of Arkansas football so far because their games are not really broadcasted that much, and then also they've only played a couple of cupcake games, and both of them they have won. So yeah, Arkansas hasn't been tested yet. You got Ole Miss coming in also at 2-0. They played a conference game last week against Kentucky, but not a really good Kentucky team in my opinion. So I think this is kind of the first real test here for both of these teams. I know last week Ole Miss played Kentucky, but Kentucky doesn't look like they're going to be a great team at all. And yeah, this one has a chance to be a shootout because the over and under is at 62.5. I am kind of surprised that Ole Miss is favored by 7.5 points, but it is at home here in Oxford for the Rebels. Maybe that makes sense to, the spread being at 7.5. But still, this one should be a shootout. I'm looking forward to this game between Arkansas and Ole Miss, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Razorbacks did pull off an upset. And like I said, I think it's going to come down to which offense is better and which defense can probably make a big stop at the end of the game. So Arkansas and Ole Miss, this one's at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. And then we go on to Texas A&M at Notre Dame. This one's at 7:30 Eastern Time on NBC. Notre Dame's favored by 6.5. Notre Dame did not play last week, but a couple weeks ago they lost to Miami on the road. I thought C.J. Carr played pretty well. This will be his second tough test. You got a Texas A&M team that hasn't been tested as of yet. They played a couple of cupcake games to kick off the season, and they're also playing their first true road game of the season. So, yeah, this will be a tough game here for Texas A&M. You got a quarterback in Marcel Reed that can run against you. Can Notre Dame stop that running game of Texas A&M? That'll definitely be the question mark there for Notre Dame. And then also they're coming out of a bye week, so they've had some extra time to prepare for this game. It was kind of early though for a bye week. Is that really going to help them out? I really don't know because they've only played one game so far, but I wouldn't be surprised if Texas A&M did pull off an upset here. I know it's on the road, but again, Notre Dame's only played one game, and Texas A&M's already played a couple. And yeah, Texas A&M has not been tested yet, so that is also another interesting story there. But yeah, Notre Dame is playing at home. They definitely will be fired up for this one, but it's also a revenge game for the Aggies since they lost to Notre Dame last year as well. So that one's a 7:30 kickoff on NBC. Again, the Fighting Irish favored by 6.5. And then next we have Vanderbilt at South Carolina. This one's at 7:45 Eastern Time on the SEC Network. And I did meant to put South Carolina's ranking here in this graphic, but either way, this is a game that will be played in Columbia, and it will be at 7:45 Eastern Time. South Carolina is only favored by 4.5. I'm not really surprised that South Carolina is, favored by less margin in this one. You look at this Vanderbilt team; they haven't been tested yet. Yeah, they played Virginia Tech last week, but that's not a really good Virginia Tech team. And then South Carolina also played Virginia Tech. Vanderbilt's win over Virginia Tech was definitely better than South Carolina's compared to those two games. South Carolina, obviously, they were only up by 10-8, in the third quarter. And then fourth quarter, they definitely pulled away. But Vanderbilt's definitely, I would say, their win was better against Virginia Tech than South Carolina's was. And I wouldn't be surprised if Vanderbilt actually did pull off an upset here. It's an early SEC game, and yeah, Lenore Sellers, he's a great runner, and so is Diego Pavia. So which quarterback do you really trust the most? Diego Pavia definitely has more experience, but South Carolina's playing at home. That probably could be the difference in this one. It could be just a coin flip type game here between these two teams. But yeah, I've been really impressed with Vanderbilt so far. South Carolina again. Both of these teams played against Virginia Tech. Again, which win was better? That was Vanderbilt in my opinion, and they went on the road and beat them, by the way, and South Carolina played them on a neutral field. So yeah, that really, doesn't give us any indication on those two games, but yeah, Vanderbilt's been impressive so far, and South Carolina's just been a little bit up and down. I wouldn't really say they played their best game last week, but still, this one has a chance to be a pretty good game. So again, South Carolina favored by 4.5. I wouldn't be surprised if Vanderbilt did pull off an upset. All right, next up, Clemson at Georgia Tech. This one's at noon Eastern Time on ESPN. Clemson favored by 3.5. Very low spread there for the Tigers, but I'm not really surprised here. Clemson did drop down in the rankings in the AP poll this week because they were so flat against Troy. I don't know if the weather delay had something to do with that. I mean, we haven't seen the real Clemson team just yet. Will we finally get the real Clemson team heading into this Georgia Tech game? I don't know. Georgia Tech is a pretty sneaky good team in the ACC. They're 2-0. They beat Colorado on that Thursday night game a couple weeks ago. That was kind of their first real test, but this will definitely be their real test. Haynes King did not play last week, which was really interesting. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know if he's playing in this game or not, but still, Georgia Tech's got a great shot here to pull off that upset. They are playing at home, and Georgia Tech is known for pulling off a couple of big upsets every year, and so maybe this could be one of those games. It's early in the season, and it's the first ACC conference game. And again, Clemson definitely has to play their A game if they want to live up to that hype as a team that could be the favorite to win the national championship. But again, Clemson's only favored by 3.5. I wouldn't be surprised if we did see an upset here. And then finally, it's the game of the weekend. Georgia at Tennessee, this one at 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC. Georgia only favored by 3.5. I'm not really surprised that Georgia is favored by a little bit less margin in this one. Georgia in the first 2 weeks, they haven't been really tested yet, and they'll finally get that first real test coming up here in Knoxville, and it's also their first road game of the season. Tennessee, they haven't played a road game just yet, but they played a neutral site. It's not typically a road game, but it's just out of their home stadium, but it was basically a home game against Syracuse. There were more Tennessee fans even there, so yeah, Tennessee, Joey Aguilar, the quarterback, he's been playing pretty well in the first couple of weeks, but this will be his first real defense that'll go up against. Georgia, obviously known for their defenses, but it's really going to come down to their offense. Their offense has to be so consistent in this game. Gunnar Stockton's going to have to play pretty well in this game as well. And if he does, I think Georgia wins. But if he's inconsistent and if the defense cannot stop Tennessee's offense, then Tennessee's definitely got a shot to win this game. If Joey Aguilar plays pretty well, then Tennessee might win this game. But if he doesn't, Georgia probably does win this one by at least double digits. So, yeah, Georgia, I would not be surprised if they did get upset in this game. And if Tennessee wins, fans, I think you probably have to call them a dark horse playoff contender and then a top contender in the SEC as well. So that's the most likely upset in my opinion heading into this week. So those are my upset alert games heading into week 3. Who do you see getting upsetted this week? Let me know down in the comments below and give me your thoughts on these upset alert games. Thank you for watching this video and stay tuned for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports YouTube channel.